Greetings. This is Paul the Poke from paulthepoke.com, and welcome to This Week in Prophecy. We've got a big week. We're going to focus mostly on the continued ridiculous buildup of Russian military equipment and troops as they are moving equipment from now. It was, say a week ago, it was from mostly the Eastern military district. And you're going to see this week, and I just kind of arbitrarily just picked today, like 2 or 3 days ago, and they are moving equipment from all over Russia, and they are moving things toward Ukraine, onto the border with Ukraine, into Belarus, into the Crimean Peninsula. So just give you some landmarks here. Here's the Crimean Peninsula of the Ukraine, which they annexed. We'll let them debate over who's got it or who it rightfully belongs to, but the Russians are in control of it. Here is the Ukraine border. Here's Belarus up here, and Minsk is the capital. And then here is the border with the Ukraine with Poland. I will say this in regards to the Polish-Ukrainian border. The United States has sent in 3,000 troops into Germany, which are going to go into Poland. It's a big deal. President Biden did that. And when you understand what Russia's doing, those 3,000 troops, it's just laughable what's going down. And before we get going, big shout out to Checkmate at ValorTube.com. If you guys are not following Checkmate at ValorTube.com, you need to do this. This guy's all over this situation in Russia, in the Middle East, knows this stuff very well. Excellent resource for the news of what's taken place in these parts of the world. In fact, it was Checkmate who gave me this heads up. And just so you think this is not something that's, I'll say Russian propaganda. This is from Jane's Defense. And Jane's Defense is out of England. And they provide military analysis as far as what's taken place. And I'm not going to go over each one of these, but I am going to lay out just so you can get a good look at it. This is the Russian military positions near Ukrainian border as analyzed by Jane's Defense. It's a busy chart because Russia has a lot of things going on. Here is Belarus up here in the northwest part of the map. They are cozy with Russia. Some people say the president, the leader of Belarus, is kind of the bad cop in the good cop, bad cop relationship with Putin and Russia. He will go out and say crazy stuff, and then Putin comes out and says things, and he looks like the more polished, refined, reasonable guy. But don't kid yourself. These two are working together. Here is the Ukraine. Follow my cursor. It's in the white, with the exception of Belarus. I got Poland off here to the west. You want to pay attention to Moldova down here in the southwest of Ukraine, the Crimean Peninsula, and then Russia is all along here to the east. So, and I'm not going to go over each one of these, but these are these are the positions what Russian military positions have. And you'll see BTGs, those are battalion tactical groups. It's one Russian battalion tactical group. So when you see regimented BTGs, camp containing one battalion tactical group, 6 BTGs, 3. So we're talking, I don't know what that means for Russia, but a battalion tactical group is a large mass of troops and military equipment. So again, this is from Jane's Defense, an English source, and this is their analysis of the situation. Now I'm going to take you to another guy. His name is Rob Lee. Found this guy on Twitter. He's recommended to me by several folks. He's a PhD student at War Studies. He's previously a Marine. And you can see some of his other credentials, places he's been. But the thing is that he focuses on Russian defense policy. This guy's an expert on what's happening in Russia, and you're going to see this guy's been documenting this stuff for a long time. This isn't something that's just popped up in the last week or two. He has been documenting this since going back into 2021, and he's been on the money. And if you're going to want to take the time and to break all this stuff down as far as what he said, when he said it, I highly recommend it. Before we get into more specifics, we're going to take a look at how Russia organizes their groups, their military groups. And this source is the Russian Ministry of Defense. So this is what they say. This isn't some conspiracy website breaking down Russian military capabilities. This is from the Russians themselves. This is how they organize their things. We're going to need to pay particular attention. So about a week or so ago, we spent a lot of time talking about what was coming from the Eastern military district coming west to Ukraine. And we're going to focus a lot today. You're going to hear about things coming from the northern and the southern military districts of Russia. So I'll give you a lay of the land. The cursor here is the Ukraine. Up north of the Ukraine is Belarus. Here is Poland. And here's the Crimean Peninsula, Black Sea, Turkey, Caspian Sea. Okay. Land in between the Caucasus. Just to give you a loose idea what we're dealing with here. And I'm going to refer back and forth to several of these maps as we unfold this. So I'm going to move forward to Rob Lee's stuff on Twitter. And I just had to pick some date arbitrarily because all this stuff's been going on for the last week. It has ramped up significantly compared to what it was, say, a couple of weeks ago when things were coming from the Eastern Military District moving west. Well, now I decided to start with this one. Russian Minister of Defense said the Northern and Baltic fleets, I'm not even going to get into the names of these ships, have arrived at Russia's naval base in Tartus, Syria, before conducting an exercise. And so you're like, well, what's the big deal about that? Why should we care about that? Well, let's just give you a lay of the land. Okay, so the Baltic Sea, St. Petersburg is where a lot of these ships are going to have as a port of origin. Also, you will have ships. This is considered Russia. Kaliningrad. You'll have ships coming from there, and that's part of the Baltic Sea fleet. And then you will also have ships coming from up around the Barents Sea, as well on the far northern borders of Russia. And these ships were spotted within the week coming down through here. So you got stuff coming out of the Baltic Sea from Kaliningrad and from St. Petersburg up here in the north, and they will make their way through the waters here of the Baltic Sea, come through Denmark, around the peninsula up here, into the North Sea. They were spotted in the English Channel. Here's London, England, France, English Channel, out into the Atlantic Ocean, entered in through Straits of Gibraltar, into the Mediterranean Sea, and they brought those ships to Tartus, Syria, or Tartus. I don't take your pick. It should be noted that Russia has ports here in Tartus and in Latakia, Syria. Okay, now prophetically we care about that because that's stuff that's just closer to what comes when they decide to move in on Israel. But the main focus that I really want to focus on to drive home today is just the volume of equipment, the build of equipment that has taken place in and around Ukraine. And they control this area. Russia controls this area. And at some point in the future, all of this stuff is going to come south and going to come into Syria and going to make a move on Israel from the north in the mountains. It's not yet. It's not yet. But we are watching a massive amount of military equipment and build in and around the Ukrainian border. I think we're seeing the beginning of this. Now, how long it's going to take before they decide to drop all this stuff south down into the Middle East, I don't know the answer to that. But they are clearly mobilizing ridiculous amounts of troops, calling up their National Guard. We're going to hopefully get into that if I can find that tweet. And moving military equipment, naval capabilities, and Air Force capabilities in and around Ukraine. And at some point, that will come south as well. Some of it's already coming south, is what it is. And so I'm going to pick this one right here. We're going to start on February 3rd. This is just in the last 2 days. Okay. Now you can take this stuff and go back for the last week. There's just too much information, too many tweets, too much. So we're just going to focus on this one. And again, starting with February 3rd, 2 days ago, a little over 2 days ago. I think it's Rosgvardia column in the Ural Mountains. Let's go first, give you an idea where the Ural Mountains are. The Ural Mountains are the mountain. That's the mountain range that divides, Asia from Europe. Type that in. I can't see the landmarks real well with this map. Well, I was pretty close. It was right there. I should have just zoomed in on it. But these are the Ural Mountains right through here. And this is what divides Europe over here on the west, Asia here on the east. Well, they're bringing troops from this part of Russia they're bringing it west toward the Ukraine. Give you one idea of where some of this stuff's coming from. Tank companies, train loads. Look at the train loads in the background. Just train load after train load after train load. This is in Kaluga. I have no idea where Kaluga, Russia is. Photos of Russian and Belarusian tanks during today's exercise at the Bresky training area. I do know where the Bresky training area is, and we'll move that over here. The Bresky training area is in this area of Belarus. So they will be able to drop down and go south into Ukraine if needed. They also provide a bit of a buffer from NATO to the west and Poland. So there's that piece of it. So they have tank training taking place in what is Western Belarus. Semis moving stuff. Again, we covered the northern and Baltic Fleet ships. Again, Rosgvardia, I believe that would be what is considered their National Guard in Russia, coming from the Ural Mountains. 2 Russian S-400 battalions in Belarus arriving at Bretsky training in western Belarus, 9,000 kilometers from Khabarovsk, I think. You get the point. I can show you where that is. And this gives you the idea. So they moved, those ended up here in western Belarus. These are S-400 missile batteries. They have some capability with ballistic missiles. And they came from all the way over here in eastern Russia. From this Khabarovsk, Khabarovsk. I don't know how to say it. I'm sure somebody out there understands and can speak Russian better than I can. My point is, I want you to see where this came from. This came from all the way in what is far east Russia. And they ship this stuff by train over here to Western Belarus. I mean, so this is not some little undertaking that we're just deciding to do over a week or so. Again, there's the Jane's Defense. Again, more ships going to Tartus in the Mediterranean. And then this is where this just gets crazy. 400-kilometer range. S-400 missile system equipment transported by rail. Kaliningrad, we showed you where that is in the Baltic Sea. Active divisions will have deployed to Ukraine's border. More stuff on the move. This is in Kaliningrad, off the Baltic Sea. More troops being called up, National Guard troops in Russia. Mortars and rheostat headed to Crimea, the peninsula, southern Ukraine. More National Guard troops. And again, this is just within the last 2 to 3 days. 83 battalion tactical groups near Ukraine, with another 14 in transit, which means Russia has half of its total number of battalion tactical groups near Ukraine. Represents half of Russia's ground combat power. 14 more battalion tactical groups would bring the total to approximately 100. 100. It's crazy. And I think Russia has like a couple million soldiers, or 1 million soldiers. At either rate, you're looking at 500,000 to 1 million soldiers is what this amounts to. And again, more National Guard troops. Tanks, howitzers, more stuff on train, on rail, headed toward this area. And it doesn't stop. It just keeps going. Just keeps going. More military equipment. And if you jump off on any one of these tweets, you know, other people see it, and then they're chipping in things that they're seeing. This was actually yesterday. Military equipment was seen today in Smolensk in the direction of Belarus. You can see all the different equipment. You get the idea. And it just keeps going and keeps going. So the point is, ridiculous amount of military equipment and troops headed toward the Ukraine area. Upwards of 100 battalion tactical groups with supporting military equipment. So you have that going on. And in the backdrop, again, thanks to Checkmate, found this one for me as well. We've been watching happenings, and that's what all this stuff is ultimately about. It's about natural gas and oil supplies, who controls it, who makes money off of it. And Putin and Russia want to have most of it. They are starved for money and cash. I mean, holy cow, if you're moving that kind of military equipment, this is not a light undertaking. It's going to cost millions upon millions of rubles. Turkey is hurting economically. And then you got Erdogan sticking his nose in there, and he's trying to cut a deal. Turkey sees a win-win natural gas supply deal with Iraq. That's Erdogan making that comment. Now, Erdogan calls it Iraq. This is from Ruda, and this is a Turkish publication. And now Erdogan is playing chummy in northern Iraq where the Kurds are. I mean, he's doing this with the Kurds. Guess we'll do anything for money, you know, when we're starved and we're hurting. I mean, so this is the area we're talking about right here in northern Iraq. Erbil, this is where this story's out of. This is home to a bunch of Kurds. The Kurds are the people that Erdogan typically turns on when he needs some public opinion boost at home or is having some economic troubles. He goes and lashes out at the Kurds. And offers up a little military intervention on these folks. Well, now he's decided he's ready to strike a win-win deal to import Iraq's natural gas, adding that the Kurdistan region president has promised to facilitate talks. Now we're all buddies. Amazing what happens when we start hurting economically and who we'll tie up with to do pretty good. In this Kurdistan region president, Barzani, he goes to Erdogan in Ankara to have a little visit, and they focused on bilateral relations of Turkey with Iraq and the Kurdistan region, reaffirming that the mutual willingness to further strengthen the important commercial and economic ties between the two sides. Oh, great. Everything sounds wonderful. Discussions also highlighted other areas of joint partnership, the political status in Iraq, and the latest regional developments. There may be a natural gas supply from Iraq to Turkey. If it happens, it will be even more different. But we as Turkey do not have any natural gas issues. No, they've got it covered there. But we need the money. Please run your pipeline through us so we can get a little cut of the toll of transporting gas. And we'll sell it to Europe and make a buck or two. Editorial comment by yours truly here. Absolutely fascinating. And it's all about money. All about money. And then here's the Jewish angle. They see what's going on in Ukraine. This is from Israel Hayom. And again, this is a reference from Checkmate. You guys need to follow up and see what he's doing at valortube.com. Checkmate, original content provider, offers all kinds of analysis and insights to these issues. Israel mulls possible airlift of Ukrainian Jews if Russia attacks. Jewish organizations estimate that as many as 75,000 Ukrainians in the eastern part of the country are eligible for Israeli citizenship, and that would be close to the border, to the Russian border. Due to the sensitivity of the issue and Israel's good ties with both countries, officials are careful to avoid appearance that they are taking sides. Russia has concentrated an estimated 100,000 troops and tanks and other heavy weapons near Ukraine. Well, it's more than that now. Way more than that. And isn't it interesting that the kind of ground zero for where all of this looks like it's going to go down on the Russian-Ukraine border is where all the Jewish folks live. Just a little observation. Crazy buildup. And for what reason? Ezekiel 38. This is to Gog. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with all your army, your horses, your horsemen in full armor, a great company armed with shields and bucklers, all brandishing their swords. We didn't even talk about Iran or Persia or Kush or Libya. Or I'm sorry, Kush, that'd be Ethiopia, Sudan, most likely Sudan. And Put, that'd be Libya. We'll accompany them. They're all fired up with helmets and shields. Gomer, Beth Dagarma, that's modern day Turkey. From the far north, with all its troops, the many nations with you. And most of this today just focused on what Russia is doing. With what Russia is doing. And we know why they're going. It tells us very clearly. It's for economic reasons. Have you come to capture the plunder? Have you assembled your hordes to carry away loot, to make off with its silver and gold, to take cattle and goods, to seize great spoil? The great spoil's the natural gas out in the Med that Israel possesses. It's all right here in Ezekiel 38 and 39. And there are multiple references within these two chapters that talk about a massive military buildup and what gets plundered by the good Lord in Ezekiel 39. And I would argue to you, we are seeing that buildup. Granted, it's north of Israel, but when Russia has close to half of its military capability in and around Ukraine, that's a big deal. And that missile, that group of missile ballistic missiles, short range ballistic missiles that came from the far east of Russia, that's on the Chinese border. They didn't hesitate to move that stuff all the way across the country. And it literally sits on the river that borders China. So Russia's not too concerned about China in this mess. So, and I think I saw something else. Checkmate may have sent me something else too, that Russia and China agreed on a pretty good size economic package for the sale of natural gas and oil to China from Russia, and they were going to complete the transaction in euros. So they are trying to dump the dollar, get rid of the dollar, break down the United States economically in the process of this as well. So all kinds of moving parts, and we're just hitting the highlights. There's all kinds of stuff that's being passed back and forth between myself and Checkmate, and we're just cherry picking the big ticket items. Crazy stuff. All I can do is, as Checkmate says, sit back, grab some popcorn, and watch the show, and pray for this situation. Doesn't look like it's going to have a good outcome. Bible tells us where it's going. It's not to scare us, it's to prepare us and let us know, hey, this is what's going to happen. There's going to come a time when you see these things happen. So it shouldn't come as any shock. We know who's in control. We know how it ends, but it will be bumpy getting there. So pay attention. He's getting closer, and he is Jesus. And Jesus himself said these things would take place before he comes again. Well, if this isn't it, I don't know what else it could be. I mean, but at any rate, that's for each individual to make their own decision. So appreciate you guys taking the time today. Wishing you all a good weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.